Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on getting out of gangs. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. The gang lifestyle is glamorized in hip-hop and drill music, TV shows, movies, and social media, attracting younger and younger members. But when some find out the dangerous reality and try to get out, we're wondering if they can make it out alive.
Give me lit. Give me lit. Gun on my head.
There's no shortage of videos that make gang violence look exciting, especially for young boys in under-resourced communities who are fed a poisonous diet of gangs, guns, and shootings. Sometimes hardcore drill beats and disses are on the menu. Other times, it's the harsh reality of senseless murders right outside their front door. But now a revolutionary new campaign with a hashtag called Drop My Flag is encouraging gang members to quit cold turkey. That's just step one, says movement founder and ex-gang member Hocus 4/5. He tries to connect those trying to leave with mentors, safe passage out and into a new life.
Those who want to leave the gang, that's the most important thing. There's a lot who want to and is afraid to and don't have nowhere to go.
Podcaster and influencer Melly Gibson, known as the Hood Postman, is a former gang member from Compton. He did time behind bars at the notorious federal facility known as Terminal Island near Los Angeles, and is now warning new generations of young men about the illusion versus reality of gang life.
If you're a gang member, you're actually putting yourself in victim status. That means you're standing somewhere where you could possibly be murdered, shot, or gunned down. That's just the point. Those are the facts.
Gang shootings on the streets of Chicago often make national news. Guns are being put in the hands of boys as young as 9 years old, says community leader Goalden Chyld. He is the founder of the National Unity Movement that seeks to show boys and men how to coexist in peace and to love themselves and each other. He says the spiritual but practical approach is having a positive impact.
The success that we've had on this end has really been rooted in me being quiet, being courageous enough to go into these environments, sit back and observe. That's it. Listen, watch, and observe. But nobody cares about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Let's take this to our panel and find out what they're doing to help save young lives. So joining me for this conversation is Hocus 4/5. He is the founder of the Drop My Flag movement. He's a hip-hop community activist. He's been speaking out on Street Soldiers for nearly a decade here on various issues related to community safety and empowering young people to make positive choices. Hocus, great to have you with us again.
Yes, always. You know that.
Thank you so much. Joining us from Los Angeles is Melly. Now, if you follow him on Instagram, he's known as the Hood Postman. He's also a podcaster. He's a former gang member. He was formerly incarcerated. He knows all the bad stuff. Now he's trying to get the word out to the youth about what's really going on and what gangs today are all about. Melly, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa, for that amazing introduction. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And joining us from Chicago is Goalden Chyld. He's the founder of the Unity Movement. And what he's trying to do is, in a city that has been torn apart by a lot of gang rivalries and gang violence, is try to get peace, is to get gangs to just come to a point of peace. We're going to find out how he's doing that. And Goalden Chyld, thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate you, Lisa. My honor and pleasure.
We appreciate it. Hocus 4/5, I want to start with you on this. The Drop My Flag movement, where is it today? How are things going?
Lisa, it's amazing. I just feel so blessed and honored that God put me in this position to even do this. It's taken off, and not just taking off on a viral sense. I know everybody see it on the internet, but what makes it take off for me is that we actually have gang members, notable ones, prominent ones, who's respected in their neighborhood, actually co-signing it, even if they're not dropping a flag. But we have people actually dropping a flag, not just Bloods. We have Crips, Latin Kings, Patrias. One of the leaders of the Patrias, he came out, older guy. And, Patria, for y'all that don't know, that's a Dominican gang in New York City. Very well respected gang. And he said, yo, look, I'm dropping it. So, that his young Patrias could follow him. It's taking off, Lisa, and that's what matters to me most. We got some kids also. So for y'all that seen people do it publicly, there's about 4 or 5 more times people doing it behind the scenes that's hitting me up. And I can't, share their information or put them out there because they're doing it behind the scenes. But We doing a great job with what we got going on so far.
Are they actually saying, I'm leaving the gang, I want to leave the gang, tell me how to do it, or
Okay.
telling you that they're doing it?
Yo, that's a great question. So some is just hitting me up like, "Yo, Hocus, I'm inspired by what you're doing. I'm out. I'm done." Right? They don't care what nobody got to say. It's their life. They making that decision. Some I actually have to walk through it. They asking me how to do it. So whether I'm consulting them on what to say to their big homie because maybe they might be worried, or I'm on the phone with them with their big homie, or I might call their homie, or I might text them. And each and every single time, there's not one time that their big homie has not let them go. Not one time yet. So this theory that people, oh, if you leave a gang, you're putting them in danger. I mean,
Or yeah, or severely injured, or something's going to happen to your family. That's not true?
that has not happened. So I'm not one to say that it's impossible. Last year, even way before I dropped my flag, this is last year, I had to save a kid. He wanted to leave the gang. This one of my friends, it was his cousin. He just hit me up like, yo, my cousin live in North Carolina. These little dudes is talking about killing him if he leave the gang. So these are young kids. They don't have the knowledge to know that this is not the way to go. So eventually I had to get him. I called his big homie, got him out the gang, and that happened. But other than that, like, we never had that type of issue.
What's the gang situation like in LA now? Because you were active with the Crips, right, out there, and then also you did some time at Terminal Island. You've been doing really good things since you came home and in the community. But what's happening there?
What we have in Los Angeles is very chaotic, and it's been around since 1969. So it's a lot more complicated here. It's not just that easy to say, okay, we can hope that that's would be the course that we take. We want to drop the flag. There's individuals, you're always going to find individuals that's part of that. But at the same time, they're very entrenched and enriched in that culture. In order to have somebody to drop something, a rhythm or something, you have to have something to replace it, because you can't just take something away and don't have anything to go in that place, because that energy has to go somewhere.
Let's go to Chicago right now with Goalden Chyld. Goalden Chyld, how is it? Tell us about the unity movement and what made you want to get involved in this? Because you were never involved in a gang yourself, which is very important too. I think an important point, and to your credit. But how does it operate? What do you guys do?
Yeah, I've never been in a gang. The Unity Movement is a grassroots organization in the city of Chicago that really gets in the mud and does the work that oftentimes a variety of people are afraid to do. It creates a connection or a relationship directly with those soldiers that our brother the Hood, the Postman, was talking about, building a relationship with them, building trust, listening to them, hearing them out. I've never been an advocate for foolishness, but at the same token, I'm a defender of my people. And a lot of what we're doing is rooted in survival. A lot of what we're doing is rooted in the lack of resources. A lot of what we're doing is rooted in the lack of solid, firm examples. What Hocus said stood out so much to me, because if there wasn't a man like him to stand in between that young soldier and the big homie, me and him both know, I would agree, that there is a strong possibility that something can happen to that young child, that young man that's trying to get out of that game. But because he's able to get on the phone and have a sound, reasonable conversation via the use of deliberative dialogue, what could have happened to him is eliminated, because a man stepped in and made sure that that wasn't the reality. And when I talk about having more men like that, I think that's what's really important in us making our communities safe.
Don't go away. We're back right after this. Goalden Chyld, give us a sense. We hear these stories about Chicago. The level of violence. Is it that crazy there?
Well, crazy is relative. For me, being a resident doing the work that I'm doing, for me, it's not as crazy. But for somebody on the outside looking in that doesn't understand the in-depth perspectives of what's really going on, it can look crazy, and it does look crazy. One thing that makes Chicago looks, a little bit more crazy than average is the amount of money and interest that individuals have in drill culture, right? Publicizing and promoting a culture that promotes the degradation of our people and young men and young women. So when millions of dollars is pumped into promoting and advertising a young man that never had a father, a young man that never had a role model, what you do is take a reality that was in a silo and you mass promote it all over the world for people want to emulate, and young men and women to want to emulate the lifestyle of a young man who really don't want to live that life. But put that aside for a second and start to communicate with the young man and communicate with the young woman and get past all of the filth that the world and the tabloids has put on their image. And you start to realize these are some of the most beautiful young men and women that ever walked the face of the earth. They just need a chance.
Melly, in terms of the influences you see in terms of Los Angeles, there's been a push nationally and also, but we see it in New York, that younger and younger kids, there's starting to be, it seems, more girls getting involved in it, but also younger kids, the age group of kids, and some of these gang takedowns and some of these conspiracy cases, half or more of some of the people that are arrested are minors. What do you think is the reason for that? For the age going down?
It's been my experience, Lisa, that and throughout time in the gang culture that the middle school is the gateway to the introduction of gang culture, because that is the years of they looking to be impressionable. They looking for something to impress themselves, and a lot of times, often they see these individuals walking around their communities, their neighborhoods, their alleys, their parks, their blocks, acting a particular way, and they think that that's the experience that they want, but they don't know everything that's entailed to mimic that person, and where that devastation is going to come in, and whether there's consequences for acting and behaving in a particular way.
We recently saw a 13-year-old boy shot and killed in Queens, New York. He was not, according to the NYPD, said he was not a gang member. He was, according to his family, trying to spend weekends with his uncle in Connecticut to get out of the pressure. Do you think that some of these kids that are quote unquote joining the gang at 13 and 14 are being forced into it or intimidated into it? What's happening there?
Oh, they're most definitely not forced or intimidated. They're influenced, and the influence do come from social media. And like the hood postman just said, it not just social media, but television, social media, music heavily with the drill rap too, as Goalden Chyld was saying. But we got to do one thing. We got to start humanizing them. I'm glad you keep saying kids, Lisa, because Hill Postman was going down the same path. We dehumanize these kids by calling them gang members, putting them in categories. These are our kids, right? These are children that their frontal lobe is not fully developed yet. So we cannot put the blame on them. They are the mass manipulation that's being funded by big corporations, and we talked about this last show. That need to be addressed.
Goalden Chyld, in terms of the influence on kids too, the desensitization, you talk about that a lot. How does that work in actually preventing violence?
Man, it's really rooted in love, man. I can't be on these platforms and on the internet not fighting for these babies, knowing that they trapped. The unity movement has built a relationship with these soldiers in a way that it appears to be so miraculous, because the same people that people thought were hopeless, the same young soldiers that people thought were hopeless, we have a relationship with, we're building with, and our ability to do that was rooted in us not judging, not condemning, but being genuinely concerned as to what's the problem. If some of these brothers with the intelligence to save and help these men got over their fears and got into the trenches, we could save more lives than we know.
Hocus, the influences, you've spoken out about this, the music influences, what they look at as cool, those same influences are often can be used against them in criminal cases.
This is the reason why I don't like drill rap. Drill rap, the music is fire, right? I like the sound, but I don't like the fact that they scream dead people in song. I can't stand that. One of my little bros from my projects, he was actually picked up on a one-man RICO. Listen to this, y'all. One-man RICO, like how Diddy was. This kid is only 20-something years old. He got convicted, 22 years, and what they wound up doing was using his guns, prop guns, against him in trial. He went to trial and still blew. So y'all out there, y'all think, oh, these are prop guns, and you're gonna put the disclaimer up. There's a prop guns in the video. They are still going to use that against you in trial, and to say that you're still trying to portray image, and they really don't know if it's a prop gun. So they're still gonna say it's a real gun, but you just put a disclaimer up. This really happened in real life. And I want to stress one more thing, Lisa. When you walk into these gangs, You are walking into a criminal organization, a criminal enterprise, according to the courts. Now, I don't believe that these gangs are criminal enterprises, but according to the courts, you are, and they will say that in court. Trust me, I'm going through it now. So, that's my message to the youth.
Melly, the gang culture from when you were active on the streets to where it is now, it's very, very different.
It is quite different. But first, we have to understand we keep using the term gang. Gang is a shock word.
But then how do you explain, and how do you, look at, just looking at this from some of our viewers or from other people's points of view, people are throwing up their set signs. They're doing all of these things that are in support of the gang. They're on social media using the emoji of that particular gang. That's
because they're
that
following
particular
trends.
set.
They're following trends and who they like. They really don't understand. These are keyboard gangsters. These are virtual reality people. They really don't know what they're doing. They're just doing it because they seen somebody else doing it. These people are taking attention and mistaking it for success. Those are two different things. They have low perspective taking. We got to educate them. The fear, lack, and scarcity. We got to get out of that. We got to be more engaging and bringing education to the table.
But I want to touch really quickly, 2 seconds, on how these young men get involved in what they're involved in. Because I want you to be able to understand how a young man can go from being a baby to pulling that trigger. It looks heinous, but a young man, no food, no parent, nowhere to go, living in abandoned buildings, built a brotherhood and a family with the streets, which was originally his only brotherhood of the family that accepted him. He's in the streets is lawless. His friend that he was sleeping on the couch with, thugging and hustling with, gets his brain blown out because it's a war zone. Now he's activated. I was a young, innocent child trying to survive, but now my friend, his brain just blown out. And I understand that in order to survive, I either got to do something about that or just figure out how to thug it out here because I ain't got nowhere to go. Somebody else in the community put a gun in his hand, in that young child's mind. This man must love me because it's dangerous out here, and he gave me a gun to protect myself. Now you got a 15-year-old with these weapons, and it's just a circular process. Whereas if real warriors and men don't step in to get everybody in line in the community, it's our fault as men. It's our responsibility to get it right.
Goalden Chyld, what would you say are some of the things that just, make it more likely that peace will succeed?
Well, I'll be brief. Self-improvement is the basis for community development. And when you improve yourself as a member of any community, you improve that community. And lastly, invest in individuals, programs, organizations that are having success and are doing the work. Instead of waiting on everybody to go do a job that a select few of men are qualified to do, invest in those men and women that are qualified to go out there and risk their life, so that in that investment, you're involved in making the community safe. Because if you can't be boots on the ground, you can't be in these war zones, you can't be in these spaces, you could at least provide resources for the men and women that are.
Melly, what do you think?
I think that if we came together as a collective, if we got guys from Chicago, guys from New York, guys from Los Angeles, we came together as a collective and we sat down and we built mentorships and we brought these children and sent them out and make them fully understand the consequences of following this path, this lifestyle. We got to stand up. We got to have the accountability. We got to interject. When we see something wrong, we got to correct it.
Hocus, in terms of the takeaway for people that want to support what you're doing, what would you tell them to do?
Well, ever since I started the Drop My Flag challenge, a lot of people been on my heels, and it's kind of what the Hood Postman was saying as far as like you got to give them something. So it's like, Hocus, you asking them to leave the gang, but what are you giving them? And ever since I started, I had a whole lot of people reach out to me, like politicians, shout to Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark. They're talking about starting a program with me where I'm facilitating, the ones who want to drop their flag, and we push them to these certain I don't want to give too much, but we push them to these certain programs to help them out. I have a form if you want to leave the gang. Anybody that want to leave any gang around the country, I don't care what gang it is. If you got a big homie somewhere, we know everybody who knows somebody, and we'll get in contact with them and we'll help you leave the gang. So make sure you hit the link in my bio, Hocus 4/5, right? Spelled just how you see.
Instagram. You're talking about Instagram.
Yeah, if you want to leave the gang, please fill out that Google form. I will contact you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on getting out of gangs. You can watch it again and share it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page and the Fox Local app. Remember, use your mind, it's your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.